The metabolic system loosely defines a bunch of different systems of the body. So, like the endocrine system that regulates your blood sugar levels. If you have a problem with your GI, if you're having any kind of food allergies or chemical sensitivities, or problems with your immune system. That's generally speaking about that. That's where what I refer to as the metabolic.
Imagine your body losing control of its blood sugar, spiraling into dangerous highs or lows that could change your life forever. This is glucose dysregulation, a hidden struggle where insulin, the key to balancing your sugar level, fails due to damage to your metabolic system or even a brain injury, disrupting vital hormones. Today on New Normal Big Life, functional medicine expert Dr. Kevin Smith, founder of Chronic Conditions Center, reveals his groundbreaking approach to fixing your metabolic system. With over 20 years transforming lives battling chronic conditions, Dr. Smith will unlock the secrets of your metabolism, warning you about the risk of neglect and empower you with the knowledge to take care of your health like never before. Hi, friends. Welcome to the New Normal Big Life podcast. We bring you natural news and stories about nature that we hope will inspire you to get outside and adventure, along with a step-by-step plan to help you practice what you've learned and create your own new normal and live the biggest life you can dream. I'm your host, Antoinette Lee, the Wellness Warrior. So let's talk about the body in general before we get more specific. There are 13 major systems working together to keep your body healthy and active. Today in this two-part series, first, we're talking about the metabolic system. Part two, we'll talk about the musculoskeletal system. We're talking with functional medicine expert Dr. Kevin Smith about the metabolic system, what it does, what area of the body it impacts, and what it looks like when it's not working properly and how to heal it. So whether you're recovering from an illness or injury or just want to feel your best, understanding how to naturally enhance your body's function is important to your good health. So let's look at how the systems of the body work together by briefly discussing the 13 major systems of the body. First up is the nervous system. It controls and coordinates all body activities through electrical and chemical signals. It's composed of the brain, spinal cord, and nerves. The circulatory system transports nutrients, oxygen, and waste products around the body. It includes the heart, blood vessels, and blood. The respiratory system facilitates gas exchange. Oxygen enters the body and carbon dioxide leaves the body. Key components are the lungs, trachea, bronchi, and diaphragm. The digestive system breaks down food into nutrients that the body can absorb and eliminates waste. The components of the digestive system includes the mouth, esophagus, stomach, intestines, liver, pancreas, and gallbladder. The skeletal system provides support and structure. It protects organs and aids in movement along with the muscles. The skeletal system is made up of bones, cartilage, ligaments, and tendons. The muscular system enables movement. It maintains posture and generates heat. The muscular system includes all muscles of the body, and recent longevity research shows the amount of muscle and muscle strength, especially grip strength, is a good predictor of your health and longevity. That means how long you might live. But it's not just about living longer. The goal is to live longer, healthier, active, independent lives. The endocrine system regulates body functions through hormones. Key glands include the pituitary, thyroid, adrenals, pancreas, and gonads. Ovaries in women, testicles in men. The immune system defends the body against disease by identifying and neutralizing pathogens and other harmful agents. The immune system is made up of white blood cells, the lymphatic system, the spleen, the thymus, and bone marrow. The urinary system filters blood to remove waste and excess substances, leading to urine production. The urinary system includes kidneys, ureters, bladder, and urethra. The integumentary system provides external protection, regulates body temperature, and synthesizes or makes vitamin D from natural sunlight. It consists of skin, hair, nails, and associated glands. If you want to learn more about natural ways to improve these systems, subscribe to our newsletter at nnbl.blog. Only subscribers get access to free downloadable content like natural ways to improve your body's major systems that you can use to shop from and download so that you can plan to implement what you've learned in your daily life. The reproductive system is responsible for sexual reproduction. In males, it includes testicles, penis, and accessory glands. And females, it contains ovaries, fallopian tubes, uterus, and vagina. The lymphatic system returns fluid from tissues to the blood, absorbs fat from the digestive system, and aids in immune response. The lymphatic system includes lymph nodes, vessels, thymus, and spleen. A poorly functioning lymphatic system can cause fluid to back up in your body and increase weight gain and chronic widespread inflammation. And inflammation is one of those terrible building block to future illness and of your major organs like your heart and brain, for example. Finally, there's a metabolic system. The human body's metabolic system encompasses all biochemical processes that sustain life, involving the conversion of food into energy, building blocks for tissues, and waste elimination. Today, our guest, functional medicine expert, Dr. Kevin Smith, will help you understand how your metabolic system works, what it looks like when it's not working properly, how to diagnose problems with your metabolic system, like metabolic syndrome, for example, and what you can do to improve your metabolic health. Dr. Kevin Smith is a functional medicine practitioner from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He's the founder and clinic director of Metabolic Solutions, and he specializes in the diagnosis and treatment of chronic health problems that have failed with traditional medical approaches. Dr. Smith has been in practice since 2001, and in that time, he's seen thousands of people regain their function, restore their health, overcome imbalances, preserve their independence, and decrease their reliance on medications. Many people have commented that he has a gift of being able to distill complicated medical information and communicate it in a way that the average person can understand it. He prides himself on being the doctor who will actively listen and tailors treatment specifically to people's needs. He takes the time to educate people about their condition and their treatment plan. Dr. Smith's philosophy is about developing a trusting, long-term relationship and genuinely caring about people's well-being. And that's why he's a friend of this show. So let's dive into today's topic with Dr. Kevin Smith. Welcome, friend of the show, Dr. Kevin Smith. Good morning, Dr. Smith.
Good morning, Antoinette. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, babe.
Always excited to have you here. Let's talk about the metabolic system. Tell us what it is and what it controls.
So, the metabolic system loosely defines a bunch of different systems of the body. So, like the endocrine system that regulates your blood sugar levels. If you have a problem with your GI, if you're having any kind of food allergies or chemical sensitivities or problems with your immune system. That's generally speaking about that. That's where what I refer to as the metabolic. People have the right to have more than one problem. So, people can have low blood sugar, they can have autoimmunity issues, they can have chronic inflammation. And so, my job as a functional medicine doctor is to kind of peel back layers of the onion to find out what part of their physiology is being affected.
And how do you do that? Because I know when I've gone to the doctor with a metabolic problem, and we can talk about that in a moment, they run some blood tests and then they say, you have this problem and here's this pill. And we never get to the why. Why do I have that problem? We just sort of mask the symptoms. How is it diagnosed by a functional medicine doctor?
Well, the workup, first of all, that's a great question. So the workup of problems when it's done by a functional medicine practitioner is very similar to what goes on in traditional medicine. The difference is in how deep that the doctor digs into the problem. So, for example, an allopathic medical doctor, which is what most MDs are. What they do is you go in their office, you fill out a little bit of paperwork, you do a little consultation, you speak with the medical assistant for a while. Then the doctor comes in and he discusses, what's going on with you. The doctor is going to spend about 7 minutes of face-to-face time with you, and then he's gone. whereas the functional medicine practitioner is going to spend upwards of an hour or two with you. So it's a much more deep experience where we have to dig in a lot to figure out what's going on. What's the issue here? And I have my own theories of why that occurs.
I'm interested in knowing that. I think our listeners would be too.
So I think that a lot of this has a lot to do with what's going on with the insurance companies. So that's the reason why when you go to the medical doctor and he orders a very small amount of lab tests, and then he follows up with a consultation and then gives you a pill. In other words, he's going to do exactly whatever the insurance company dictates that they'll pay for and nothing else. And, for some people that works great. They're very satisfied. For other people, they're not satisfied. They feel like it's like a superficial, glossy overview of the problem without really digging in deep and figuring out what could be contributing to my problem and what's going on with my diet and what's going on with my overall wellness. When people today are taking 7, 8, 9 medications every day, we it's cause for concern, and we live in a drug fueled society. We live in a drug culture, and I think that the biggest part of that is because of the insurance companies. And the medical doctors that I'm friends with that I've talked to, they're very frustrated by this. They want to dig in, they want to do a better job, but they can't because of limitations of what the insurance will pay.
So, in the spirit of helping people become better healthcare consumers, if you're one of those people who can take what happened to me, which was 20 medications at one time, if you're one of those people whose body can handle that without breaking down and you like the simple in air quotes, lifestyle of just give me a pill so that I can forget about this issue and I don't have to do the hard work of lifestyle changes or exercise, better nutrition, whatever. Some people do fine with that. There are other people who, like myself, the more chemicals I put in my body, the sicker I become till I almost died. So, what can people like me who just can't handle all of those chemicals in our system do to be better equipped as healthcare consumers to find the answers?
Well, I think that the first thing that has to occur is that you have to be honest with yourself, and people need to get a really close understanding about what is going on, how many medications that they're taking, and what are the possible side effects of the medications that they're taking, and then link the side effects, the possible side effects, to potential future problems. When you take one drug, if you're taking one single drug, that drug has been researched and it's been analyzed, and they've done 13 years of intense scrutiny. They've published the data in peer-reviewed medical journals and had other authors take a look at this and experiment and see what's going on. Then it has to go through 3 different levels of FDA approval in order to release that drug to the market. So it's very robust. But what happens when you take drug one and drug two? When you take drug one and drug two together, you're now in the world of polypharmacia, which means that you're taking multiple drugs. And how much data exists to show side effects with 2 different drugs? The answer is none, zero. There's no data out there that shows the side effects that happens. They theorize that this may happen, but there's no actual experimentation done. Now, what happens when you take drug one, drug two, drug three, drug four, drug five, drug six, and drug seven? So that's very common. When people come to see me, they bring their drug list. And so they want to show me what their medication is that they're taking. So it's very common for people to take like a cholesterol pill, and they take like a statin, and they'll take a high blood pressure medication. And there's another drug for their to thin their blood. And there's another drug out there for migraines, and there's another drug out there for their colitis, and it goes on and on. The most I've ever seen in my practice, a guy came in with his drug list It was a page and a half, single space typed. And it blew my mind that he was still able to stand upright. And all of these medications have been prescribed by well-meaning medical doctors that are just trying to help, but clearly they're not talking to each other to find out all the different things that are going on, or they're just dismissing it as no big deal. I want your listeners to understand that I'm not anti-drug. I'm not anti-physician. I believe that there's a time and a place for all healing. So, medical doctors that are trained in the United States are the best in the entire world at fixing acute problems or new problems or problems that require a heroic measure to save a life, like a heart attack or a stroke or a gunshot wound or a broken bone or some major issue. They're phenomenal, but they do not have a good track record at curing chronic problems. And chronic problems are defined as problems that have been around for about 6 months or more. So that would include things like low thyroid disease, reactive hypoglycemia, migraine headaches, high blood pressure, things like that. They don't have a good track record at all. And so really what it comes down to is, what can you do to try to help with this problem without resorting to medications? And that's where the lifestyle thing that we talked about comes in.
Yeah, when you talk about drug interactions and doctors being well-meaning, I have a background in pharmacology. So when I go to a doctor, I always ask about the drugs, I ask about potential side effects, and I read the insert labels online before I agree to using a medication. And when I talk with 5 doctors about the different drugs that they were recommending that all are known to cause kidney damage, they all told me, young lady, basically, somebody actually used those words, I've been doing this a long time. I can tell you that you are perfectly safe taking all of these 5 drugs. I'm aware that you're on the other medications and they are all at very low dose. You don't have anything to worry about, until I went into kidney failure.
Unfortunately, that kind of a story is very, very common. A lot of medical doctors, unfortunate, but they can berate their patients for daring to ask a question. And one of the things that I think that is a very, very good idea that I do all the time is to rely on pharmacists, because the pharmacists don't have a dog in that fight. They're not a paid consultant by the pharmaceutical companies, and they'll give you the honest opinion. That's all they deal with all day long. And so they are a great source of information for people to pick their brain and find out, what is the mechanism of action of this drug, and what are the known side effects? What does the medical literature say about that? And when you say that, I'm like, holy cow, this guy knows what he's talking about. So they like it because, you're kind of like appealing to their intellectual vanity a little bit. But I know what you're saying about being scolded by medical doctors. That's unfortunate.
Before we cover the next topic in this episode, I want to introduce you to the adventure sports lifestyle with what I call a micro story about an adventure that I've had. The adventure sports lifestyle and my deep connection to nature is essential to my good health. So here's the story. One day, I was having the best whitewater kayaking paddling experience of my life. I had practiced so hard in a heated pool all winter in Colorado to be able to whitewater kayak the filter plant run of the Cache La Puta River near Fort Collins, Colorado, northern Colorado, at flood conditions or near flood conditions. That was my goal. I was reading and running the river with expertise that day. I was using great paddle strokes. I was having the time of my life. You could hear people on the river cheering me as I made it through rapids that had been flipping one boat after another after another. I was in the zone. And then suddenly, I could not take another paddle stroke, coming into a very dangerous rapid. I saw an eddy, calm water. I signaled to Matt, who was watching my back as always. I signaled to him that I needed to catch the next eddy. He could already tell that I was in trouble by the way that I was not pedaling and not reacting to the water. I was essentially totally controlling the boat with just hip movements, kind of like hula dancing inside my boat, because I didn't have the energy to take another paddle stroke. I mustered up the energy. I got a couple of paddle strokes in, but I thought that day I was just nervous about going into the final rapid, but it turns out that I was having a life-threatening medical emergency and I didn't know it. Later, I was diagnosed with chronically low blood sugar. And on that day, I was likely experiencing a chronic low blood sugar event as a result of my traumatic brain injury. So I want to say this to you, all of you athletes and weekend warriors out there. It's important to listen to your body. I know that sometimes you can think that it's just jitters or you didn't eat enough, but investigate whether or not those jitters, the anxiety, or that constant hunger feeling is more than just some simple fix like what I just described. It could be a chronic or life-threatening medical condition. I hope this inspires you to get outside and adventure alone with friends or the people you love most. But more importantly, I hope that it causes you to take your medical symptoms very seriously. So let's talk about what the metabolic system looks like when it's not working properly. How might we feel? What might we notice? What kind of symptoms could we experience?
So one of the things that people can notice is that they can have weight gain. They can have low energy. They can have even let's say you get 8 hours of sleep and then you're still exhausted throughout the day. Maybe they have adrenal fatigue. Maybe they have too much cortisol. That's a stress hormone that's produced by the adrenal glands. Maybe they have a allergic reaction to some kind of a food, or I would say a immune reaction to certain foods that you're eating that could be zapping your energy. Or it could be due to a chemical cleaner, like a chemical cleaner that you use to clean your house that you think is perfectly fine, but your body has a high amount of reactivity to it. So your energy levels need to be monitored. And if you feel that you're not experiencing enough energy, or if you're experiencing weight gain, even with diet and exercise, those are two signals that something's not right. And you really do need to pay close attention to what's going on. People are different. Some person can eat a donut and not gain a pound, whereas the another person will eat fresh produce and not be able to lose weight whatsoever. So the one thing that I want to make mention is that when it comes to diet, we talked about this before a little bit. When it comes to diet and nutrition, there is no one size fits all. One type of an approach that works for one guy may not work for a different person. So let's say, for example, that this one patient tries a Mediterranean diet and they no red meat and lots of fish and lots of vegetables and lots of olive oil and that kind of thing works great for that person. But another person may be better off by using a ketogenic diet. Maybe if they have reactive hypoglycemia, they need to monitor their glucose levels and make sure that it's within normal ranges so it's not too high and it's not too low. It's just an even keel.
I don't know how familiar people are with the phrase ketogenic diet. Could you explain what that is a little?
So, a lot of diets out there, they try to modulate how many macronutrients that you're getting in each category. So, macronutrients would include carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. They're not all created equal, and we have to be very careful about how much of an intake we're consuming. So, a ketogenic diet would have a high amount of healthy fats, a moderate amount of healthy proteins, and a very small amount of carbohydrates. And the purpose of that is to use fats as the primary fuel source for the body, for your body and your brain also. It does extremely well in that. That is a preferred diet for diabetics because it's very, you're using fats as the primary constituent to fuel your body. An autoimmune paleo diet, which is what I will start a lot of people off on, uses moderate levels of quality, healthy fats, a high amount of quality, healthy proteins, and a low amount of fat, carbohydrates. So again, it's using low carbs, but it's instead of high fats, it's moderate fats. Instead of low moderate protein, it's higher proteins. And most people do very well on that. There's all kinds of different diets. There's the DASH diet, there's the rainbow diet, there's all kinds of different things. And so unfortunately, there's no shortcuts. We got to figure out which one works best for your body. And it's it's very challenging because a lot of people will go to their medical doctors that don't have any training at all in nutrition. And because of that, they oftentimes will give really incorrect advice for people. And so the purpose is just to get in front of the right type of doctor that can give you the right type of advice and help you as an individual.
If you need help, listeners, finding the right doctor and with advocating for yourself without being labeled a patient that's hysterical or combative, then you want to check out the episode of How to Survive Your Hospital Stay with Dr. Julie Seamers on New Normal Big Life podcast. She gives you some great insights on managing even being gaslit by your doctor. So, Dr. Smith, let's talk about the umbrella title of glucose dysregulation, because I think a lot of people don't really understand that, even though they may have been diagnosed with hyperglycemia, high blood sugar, or hypoglycemia, low blood sugar, they may not have had a thorough explanation from their doctors. So can you tell us about these two types of dysregulation and what they might be doing to aggravate their problem rather than help themselves?
So, first of all, glucose or sugar is the primary fuel that most people will use. When you eat any type of foods, you eat proteins or you eat fats, the body tries to convert that into glucose or glycogen. And then the glucose mixes with oxygen and in your cells, in the mitochondria of your cells, and that produces energy. The energy that it produces is called ATP, or adenosine triphosphate. So you have to have a proper amount of fuel in your cells to make enough energy for work and for play. So if you have a problem with shuttling glucose into the cell, that is called insulin resistance. Insulin is a hormone produced by the pancreas, and its job is to take glucose molecules out of the bloodstream and push them into the cells where it can make that ATP energy. If the cell does not want to allow the insulin to do its job, that's called insulin resistance, and that's the starting point of glucose dysregulation. If the glucose can't get into the cell, then what happens is that the glucose lingers in the bloodstream for a long time and starts to build and build and build and build, and then it develops type 2 diabetes. In people that have unsteady glucose levels, they're instead of the glucose being on a steady stream throughout the day, it goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. And along with that, it causes a problem with your cortisol levels. That is a hormone that controls your fight or flight response or your autonomic nervous system. Cortisol has an inverse relationship with glucose. So when glucose is going up, cortisol is going down. When cortisol is going, or when insulin's going down, cortisol is going up. So when you have a roller coaster ride of insulin, it's going up and down, your cortisol is also going up and down. I'll give you an example. A person wakes up in the morning, they feel hungry, so they eat something sweet. And what happens is that their glucose levels or their insulin levels starts to rise because the insulin is secreted to take that sugar out of the bloodstream and pushing into the cells to make energy. So it goes up. And then after a while, it comes back down again. Then it goes below the baseline, starts to dip a bit. Then you have hypoglycemia. And then what happens is that you feel hungry again. So you eat another thing, maybe something more sweet. So then it comes back up again. Then it goes back down again. Then it goes up again. Then it goes down again. So these people are always hungry. They're always they could be they could just eat in a meal, and they're just always hungry because they're eating the wrong types of foods, and it's causing this roller coaster ride. And with people that have chronic hyperglycemia or diabetes, they're also going to have it dip below the normal level and have low blood sugar. And what the strategy would be to try to get it back to an even keel throughout the day. And the key to that is managing your intake of certain types of foods and also exercise. Exercise is known to resensitize insulin at the cellular levels. And if you do both, you have the best shot of correcting this.
So, what about people who are traumatic brain injury survivors who often can develop glucose dysregulation and a condition called post-traumatic hypopituitarism? Let's talk about that because I know a lot of our listeners are veterans, and many veterans have traumatic brain injuries that they're managing. And this is yet another problem that they can experience. How does a brain injury cause glucose dysregulation?
Well, the mechanism of action of that is unclear for most doctors. I think that the bigger issue is just trying to manage the glucose levels as best you can, because when you have high levels of blood sugar and you have unregulated type 2 diabetes, eventually it's going to turn into type 3 diabetes. Type 3 diabetes is also known as Alzheimer's disease, and that's in the medical literature. They found that people that have high levels of blood sugar have high levels of inflammation in the brain. And the inflammation, the immune system, everything is interrelated. So the best way of correcting this problem is at its source. Try to put healthy foods into your body. Stay away from processed foods. Stay away from fried foods or fast foods or convenience foods. Um, just by focusing on green leafy vegetables, healthy animal proteins, and also one thing that's different now than was 25 years ago. Do you remember 25 years ago they used to tell people to eat all day long, to graze instead of gorge, and
Yes,
to constantly keep your blood sugar levels at a high level? Remember that?
I do remember
That's the
that.
fastest that's the fastest way to develop insulin resistance. Every time that you eat food, it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's glucose or I'm sorry, if it's carbohydrates, proteins, or fats. Every time that you eat, your body is going to secrete insulin every single time. So you eat something, you secrete insulin. You eat something, you secrete insulin. And after a while, you're secreting so much insulin that it develops insulin resistance at the cell level. One of the ways to combat this is by doing intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting is when you eat a healthy lunch, you eat a healthy dinner, and then you don't eat again until the next lunch the next day. So you skip breakfast. So they found that when people do intermittent fasting and they go down to maybe 2 meals a day or 1 meal a day or do like a longer fast, your body starts to resensitize that insulin signaling at the cell levels. And that's the best way. That's not the best way. It's one of the ways, one of the tools that they have of helping people that suffer with this problem.
That's pretty incredible because not only have doctors and dietitians told me, as a person who has a TBI and developed glucose dysregulation, that I should start eating like every 2 to 3 hours and
Mhm.
have lots of small meals throughout the day. And now hearing you say that's not a good thing to do, I'm a little concerned that I've been getting really bad advice from multiple doctors and multiple dietitians.
Well, they're giving you information that was popular about 25 years ago. I'm giving you the current information. So if you want to explore this on your own and do some research and look at intermittent fasting and also look for books written by Dr. Jason Fung, MD, and he's one of the world's leaders of diabetes, and he talks about intermittent fasting and how that like a combination of intermittent fasting and also a ketogenic diet may be the solution that you're looking for.
And I find I already feel there's a level of credibility to what you said in my own body, because my normal sort of way of eating, just an innate ability, is that when I do intermittent fasting, and I've been a competitive athlete, a runner, a bodybuilder, power lifter. Lots of people will eat big meals, especially when I was a long distance runner. They'll eat a huge meal and they will compete full on a full stomach. If I compete on a full stomach, I never did well. I always competed more successfully when I had an empty stomach. And I've never been one of those people who feels good. My stomach doesn't feel good when I eat too often. So, like right now, following my dietitian's recommendations, eating more frequently, I feel horrible. My physical performance is poor. My brain seems like it is not functioning as well, and I just don't feel good. But when I was doing intermittent fasting, that's when I felt my best and it performed better.
You know, one of the things that happens with when you intermittent fast, you go about 14 hours or so, is that the body starts to develop or starts to do autophagy. And autophagy is where your body starts to clean up cells that are no longer needed in your body. Maybe they're dying off, or maybe they just need to be cleaned up. So the body starts to do this thing where it goes through autophagy, and you want to research that a little bit more about how that you can be at your best. Sports nutrition is science all by itself. Those guys know a lot about like when do you eat before an event, when do you carb load, with like endurance training, things like that. But for everyday people, I think that they want to learn a little bit more about intermittent fasting and also about how regulating your macronutrients, carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. And just remember, not all macronutrients are created equal. Like a Twinkie is a carb, right? And a broccoli is a carb, but they're not the same, right? One of them is better for you than the other.
When you're planning an adventure camping, rafting, RVing, or mountaineering, you'll need quality food with sufficient vitamins, minerals, and nutrients to fuel your adventure. My partner, Ready Hour, is here to help you ahead of time. Ready Hour has a long history of providing calorie-rich, reliable, and delicious nourishment for life's unexpected situations and adventures. They're part of a family of companies that have served millions of people like you for decades. My family and I use Ready Hour products for camping, mountaineering, and disaster preparedness for 5 years now. They're not just reliable, they're also your affordable option too. Long-term storable food shouldn't break the bank. That's why they have great sales and payment options for you. It's your bridge to safety and survival when you're on an adventure. So make your next decision your smartest decision. Be ready for adventure tomorrow, today. Trust Ready Hour. Ready to shop? Use my affiliate link in the show description.
So, Dr. Smith, what else should the consumer be aware of? And I'm talking healthcare consumer. What else should they be aware of in terms of advice and practices with their doctor that are not working for them? For example, I am very comfortable advocating for myself, saying this doesn't work, or I don't want to try this until I've had time to research it. I do get a lot of pushback, and I think that I have been called in my medical records, because I've seen it once or twice, a combative patient. And the way that I'm talking to you now is the way that I talk to my healthcare provider. There is nothing combative about me. I'm just pushing back to say, let's pump the brakes because I want to do some research, or what you have recommended for me is not working. And one of the ways, and I recommend this to everyone listening, one of the ways that I know something is not working is because I keep a journal of what I eat, how I exercise, how I feel, heart rate, blood pressure. I even have a at-home EKG. I do all of the things. So when I go in blood oxygen level, when I go into my doctor, I will tell them, this is what I did, this is how I felt, and this is what my body was communicating to me. And
Mhm.
sometimes they still push back and say, you're wrong, right? So can you empower us with more tools to calmly advocate for ourselves without, ticking off our doctors too much? But what advice can you give us?
Well, first of all, you work the doctor works for you. You don't work for the doctor. You're the boss. So you have the opportunity to fire your doctor anytime you're dissatisfied with them. If you feel that they're not listening to you, if you feel that they're just brushing you off or they're just writing notes like a combative patient, whatever, then you can say, look, I don't feel, you don't even have to say anything. You just leave. You just find a different doctor. They're a dime a dozen. I think that people should be very, very picky with who they go to and who they trust their health to. And I say to people, if you've already done this, if you've already tried the drug approach and it's not worked to your satisfaction, maybe we ought to take things in a different direction. Maybe what could it hurt? You've already tried the drugs. Let's try something different now. When I tell people, like I have people that come to see me for, say, peripheral neuropathy, and they say, my doctor has me on gabapentin, or he has me on Lyrica, or he has me on Cymbalta, or some other drug. And whoever put the person on the drug has to be the person to take them off the drug. That's just common courtesy. So I tell people to the next time they're having a discussion with their doctor, just say, Doctor, I'm working with a natural healthcare practitioner from Pittsburgh. He's working with me with my neuropathy, and I'm doing much, much better. I have less symptoms, my balance is better, the pain is gone. And I think that it's time that we had a discussion about either decreasing my dosage or getting me completely off this gabapentin. What are your thoughts, sir? And if you my thought is that if you approach people in a very polite way like that, they're going to be like, "Yeah, let's get you off this drug." The doctor should not have a vested interest in keeping you on these drugs unless there's absolute medical necessity for the medications. But if you tell the doctor, look, I'm feeling better. I don't feel that, I really need this anymore. Or I think it's time that we have this conversation about decreasing the dosage or getting me off this drug entirely. What are your thoughts? And if they're still hard charging about the drug, get rid of the doctor. Find another doctor that will listen to you. You have the right to advocate on your behalf or on a family member's behalf, especially if it's you have like an older parent and you need to advocate on their behalf. Trust me, those doctors know all about that, and they have to be very careful with how they phrase things. But I think that if you approach them in that not combative, but like a cooperative manner, they should be perfectly fine with you.
I wish I live in that world, but I have not met a doctor, with one exception, who ever
Me.
wanted to take you. Yes, you, but I have not met a doctor that has been my doctor who has ever wanted to take me off medications that they put me on. So, for
Mm,
example, at when I was out of the military and having a really difficult time with anxiety, depression, and agoraphobia, when I was better and felt I did not need the medication, and my therapist felt I no longer needed medication, and when I talked to the psychiatrist about it, very calmly, hey, I'm feeling better. Here are all the different ways that I'm doing better. I'd really like to come off this medication. Can you help me step down off of it? Her response was, I'm going to put you on a 72-hour involuntary mental health hold in the hospital. That was her reaction.
Hmm.
So, unfortunately, I think, and the feedback that I get from more than 7,000 people who follow me on social media is that that is not the common experience. What you're suggesting is just having a calm, rational discussion with your doctor, and they would be cooperative with what you're asking.
Mhm.
That's not the experience that we're having. Patient care
Well,
feels very
if
adversarial.
if I was working with a psychiatrist and I expressed my concern or that I want to decrease my reliance on these medications, and the doctor's response to that was, I want to put you on an involuntary psychiatric hold for 72 hours, they would be fired. That's a very, very inappropriate way to respond to that particular thing. And then after that, I would follow up by calling the medical board and report the actions. Because if it's happening to you, I'm sure it's happening to other people, and you're doing them a favor by having uh, regulatory people investigate them. That's just not right. But the doctors should be able to explain to you, this is what I feel that this drug is going to do for you, and this is what it's going to do for you there. And I really think that you need this level. I mean, when it comes to psychiatric medications, a lot of those type of things cannot be based on lab testing. They're based on symptoms. They're based on subjective complaints. But if you also say that I'm feeling better, I don't feel that I need this as much anymore, they should be cooperative with you.
Right. I feel like a person who was agoraphobic, unable to leave their home for 18 months, who's now a whitewater kayaker and leading other veterans on adventures, is not someone who needs psychiatric medication.
Right.
but that's where we found ourselves in. And I did take appropriate actions to make sure that she did not do that to someone else. So,
Yeah.
as we're talking about advocacy, I want to talk more about what it's like to work with someone like you who will listen and who will be what I call a teammate of your patients. And for those of you who are listening, and if you don't live in the Pennsylvania area where Dr. Kevin Smith works, don't worry, you could work with him over Zoom. So, Dr. Smith, tell us how you would approach someone who's experiencing glucose dysregulation or any other
Okay.
challenge.
Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to gather information. I want to gather like their medical history and look at all the medications that they've been taking, all the different symptoms that they've been suffering with, and then we'd have a consultation where I just ask them, what are your goals? What would you like to try to achieve? And what would make you happy? And then from there, then I want to go into the world of objective data. Uh, if you're in the office, we would do an exam. If you're not in the office, we could still do some lab testing. Maybe check your serum glucose levels or your hemoglobin A1C levels and find out where you are with that. And then also maybe take a look at a diet diary and see what you've been eating, and maybe I can make some observations from that. And then from there, I would just continue down the pathway of doing some objective uh, testing to find out what's going on. Is there an autoimmune issue at play? Is there chronic inflammation going on? How are you making energy? How are you metabolizing these carbohydrates, proteins, and fats in your body so that we can make sure that you're making proper ATP energy? And also, we want to take a look at your GI issues and see if you have any problems with eliminating waste products. That's very, very important. And if I find any imbalances that are going on with any of these different subsystems, we want to work on rebalancing them. We want to work on getting your blood sugar even throughout the day. We want to work on making sure that you're sex hormones are proper, you don't have any anemias, you don't have any kind of stealth infections that could be contributing to this issue. Um, we want to look at what's going on with you from a musculoskeletal point. Do you have any kind of nerve compression? Is there anything that's going on inside you that's causing pain, that causes a problem with your midbrain, things like that? So we want to check you out neurologically and metabolically. It's a very my approach it's a very comprehensive approach. And for people that are very tired of like a glossy overview of what's going on, what they get at the primary care physician's office, if you've done that and you're tired of it and you're not getting anywhere, let's try something different.
And how will listeners get a hold of you?
They can go to metabolicsolutions.net. That's my website, and you can call me. You can send me an email message, whatever's on your mind about this, and that would be the best way to get a hold of me, or best first steps. You can also read about things that I do and how I approach certain things, but you don't go to metabolicsolutions.com. Go to metabolicsolutions.net. That's my website.
And do you have any sort of discounts for initial visits or your initial consultation? Is there a cost to that?
So for people that are listening to this, the first thing that I would want to do is to do a discovery call, and that's a completely free call. You can get on the phone with me. It's about a 10 to 15 minute informal phone conversation where we can just have a conversation about what you're going through, what you've already tried, what are your goals, and then I'll make some recommendations from there. It's completely free.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Smith. We'll have you back soon. And next time, let's talk about the musculoskeletal system.
That sounds great.
Until next time, friends, I'm Antoinette Lee, your wellness warrior here at the New Normal Big Life podcast. I hope one day to see you on the river, in the backcountry, or in the horse barn living your best life. Struggling with health problems or seeking natural health solutions, we've got you covered. Don't miss our latest podcast episodes, exclusive blog posts, and free ebooks packed with life-changing wellness tips. Be sure to help others find this great information by leaving us a star rating and a review wherever you get your podcasts.
Magnesium, an unsung hero, fuels over 300 bodily reactions, from heart health to stress relief. Magnesium expert Natalie Girardo, founder of Rooted In, found freedom from anxiety, insomnia, and pain through topical magnesium. It transformed my life, she says, inspiring her mission to share this mineral's power. Cardiologist Dr. Jack Wolfson calls magnesium essential for heart health, helping regulate rhythms, blood sugar, and reduce inflammation. Up to 80% of people may be deficient, facing issues like depression, migraines, insomnia, or muscle cramps. For women over 40, magnesium eases menopause symptoms, boosts energy, and supports bones. Choosing the correct type of magnesium matters. Real stories, Natalie's and mine, highlight its impact. After interviewing magnesium expert Natalie Girardo, I became a customer. I was already a magnesium fan, having been told by 2 cardiologists to take magnesium for a minor heart arrhythmia. Natalie explains it best in the Magnesium, the Mineral Transforming Lives episode of New Normal Big Life, number 4 in Alternative Health on Apple Podcast. Listen wherever you get your podcasts. Fast forward after the interview, I bought the Rooted In bundle for sleep, tranquility, and pain relief. As a spine injury survivor with several other health challenges, I'm in constant pain. However, I don't take any pain medication. Rooted In is now one more source that nature provided to give our bodies what it needs when it needs it. You can find magnesium in natural bodies of water like lakes and rivers and in soil. But modern farming practices have stripped magnesium out of the soil and our food. That's why today, Rooted In's rest, relief, and tranquility are part of our afternoon and nightly sleep routine. My guy who did 2 tours kicking indoors in Iraq with the Marines now has no trouble falling asleep. I no longer have to take melatonin before bedtime to fall asleep. So after I became a customer and saw how well these products worked, I applied to become an affiliate. I've been sharing the secrets of Rooted In with friends and family from age 38 to 68, and everyone has gotten amazing results within minutes of applying the cream. Do something naturally good for yourself. Get rooted in. Click my affiliate link in the episode description to shop now.
The information in this podcast is not medical advice and should not be treated as such. Always consult your physician or healthcare professional before pursuing any health-related procedure or activity.